Hello everyone, my name is Felipe, and as you can see we are back again with another video, and this time it's actually quite different. As you can see, here is me, and usually I'm not here like commentating a video, but this time I'll show you how to make a better rain setup, wet setup. So how do you change the setup from dry to wet setup, and yeah, I know there's been some request about it, and yeah, I'd like to explain you how I do this. So when I am going on a league race, usually I don't practice wet, because I simply don't have enough time to practice even the dry condition, but yeah, now I'll show you what to change on a dry setup for a wet setup, and not only on time trial, but I'll show you also how to make a rain race setup, wet race setup. So we are here at the game. Let me change it. Yeah, we are on F1 now, and I'll go on time trial. I'll make it at Austria because yeah, it's a good track. We have straights and corners, and yeah, a lot of place to gain time. So I'll show you the basics about what you need in the rain. So what you need in the rain is basically more downforce. So as soon as you have more downforce, you will obviously lose straight line speed, but that's not the most important thing in the wet. The most important thing in the wet is that you are fast through most of the corners, like prioritizing the corners before long straights. And here at Austria, those corners are turn 1, turn 3 or turn 2, it depends. And yeah, I think the last corner as well, it's an overtaking opportunity there. So we really need to use higher rings and lower anti-roll bars to get better. So I'll show you the setup from Yarno. As you can see, a lot of setups, but yeah, this is the setup from Yarno in the dry. So this is the dry setup. 10-6 wings, transmission 156. Geometry, it's quite default, right, left, left, left. Suspension 131727. Brakes 1150. Tires on the maximum. So what has basically changed also, I'll show you in this video. What has basically changed on the new patch, 1.12, I believe. Basically, in this patch they've changed the brakes, so the new 56 brake bias is the 50. So now we use 50 in every condition. Most likely, like if you need to save the tires, you're gonna change it. Like if you need to save the rear tires, you're gonna change it. Or if you wanna have more stability during the race, you go to 51, 52 maybe. But at 50 it's the most default now. And what has basically changed about everything else is that on the transmission, on the off differential, I feel like I need to use 54 and 57, from 54 to 57, because before I used like 53 at some tracks, and then I went to 56 at maximum, and now you need to increase it a little bit. I feel like as you brake more with the rear tires, if you go really low on this off differential, you're gonna lock the rear tires really quickly, and then you spin. Alright, so that's the best way I can explain you what happens. So as you can see now, we are using 56 in the dry. So this is Yarno setup, as I said, on the dry. And in the rain, I would actually decrease it, because on F1 2020 actually lower, the lower you went on this value, the best you get like going out of the corner, so the best traction you got. So it's pretty good to go lower, but I wouldn't go much. If you are using like 56 on the dry, I would go at I think 54 at maximum, because lower than this you're gonna lose the car during the corner, and then you'll lose the traction obviously, and you can overheat the tires because they're sliding a lot. And yeah, this is the basics about transmission and what has changed on this patch. I don't feel like I really need to change anything else, to be honest. And about the wet setup, you can see I went through all the parts of this setup, and now I'll load the Brandon Lee setup on the wet on the time trial, and it's using 11.8 wings, so he increased the wings to give me more stability. And yeah, he's at maximum on the front wing to get the best exit possible, you know. So when you turn in, you really have that turn in. The car is really responsive, you know. And 8 on the rear wing, simply because you really need the stability to get out of corners really quickly. And then imagine a race where the driver behind you is using a dry setup, and then you have a wet setup. What are your advantages, you know? Your advantages is that you're gonna gain a lot of time going out of corners, and then you are gonna also be faster at corners. So imagine Canada, for example. You have a lot of long straight there, actually 2 or 3 straights there, and you have a lot of chicanes where you can lose a lot of time. And if you go for a wet setup, you will have a lot of downforce in corners, which means that you can extend the gap to the driver behind on the corners, and he's obviously gonna catch you on the straight. But yeah, you know, it's the pros and cons. But yeah, you really need a good setup for the corners, because if you're going sliding a lot, you know, you're gonna overheat your tires. And 11.8 wings is a good example, you know, because you have really good stability, and it's obviously at Austria, so it depends on the track. But I wouldn't go lower than 8 at Austria. Actually, this time trial setup is a good one. I would only change mainly the tires, but I'll talk a little bit about it later. And you can see the transmission 56 also. I would go to 54, 55 and try it out, because it really depends on your driving style. If you are probably on a pad, it's gonna be better to go lower, because you have better rotation. And if you are on the wheel, I would recommend you to go like, or keep the same one from the dry, or just go 1 click lower. The geometry is basically the same thing, and if you need a bit more stability, you feel like you're losing just a little bit the car at some point on the race especially, just increase the rear toe, it's gonna help you. The suspension, it's 111227, so you can see suspension all on minimum, simply because he doesn't need a lot more turn in, especially because he's already on 11 front wing, you know, so he's gonna have a lot of turn in anyway. So he's just going lower on this because it helps him on traction. Obviously he's not gonna have that much, you know, the rotation for the corner, but all you need is a good exit from the corners. So 1.1 suspension is quite good. 1.2 inch roll bars. Remember, it was 1.7 on the dry setup, and now it's 1.2. So it's really important to go down as well, because as I've explained it you on the setups guide I showed you that the anti-roll bars basically means you have a good traction if you go lower in the rear anti-roll bar. So the lower you go, the better traction you're gonna have. The higher you go, the most rotation you're gonna have through the corner, but a worse traction, you know. So he went down from 1.7 to 1.2 on this setup. And yeah, the ride height, I feel like it's probably the same, because if you go too high, you're gonna be slow in qualifying, and if you go too low, you're probably gonna be also slow. So just keep the same from dry and go out on track. And if you feel like you're losing a lot the car aquaplaning, just go 1 click higher, you know, just to keep it safe from the walls. And the brakes, yeah, he's using 56 brakes because this lap was done before the patch, so it's, yeah, it's 50 basically. After the patch is probably 50. And the brake pressure, if you are new to the game, I would recommend you to go 90, because lower than 90 you're gonna lose the brake pressure, you know. You're gonna brake and the car doesn't stop anymore, so it's not gonna be that effective anymore. So go 90 if you're new to the game. And yeah, as soon as you get more experience in the game, you can go 95, maybe 100. Maybe not even 100 is the best one to choose, you know, because from 100 to 90 you don't lose the brakes, and you can recharge more your ERS as well, your energy. And that's important for a race, you know, especially where there are long straights. You need to use a lot of ERS, like Monza for example. So yeah, like test. The best thing to do is to practice and test everything else from 100 to 90. And the tire pressures, you can see lower on the front and higher on the rear. It's the maximum. So just go like in the middle. I would recommend you to go in the middle, basically. And then whenever you are comfortable with the setup, you can improve it for the qualifying, and you can decrease it for the race, because you can actually change even with park firmware. You can change it from quali to the race. So the higher you go, the better you're gonna be in qualifying. Obviously the tires can overheat a lot, but if you only need one lap in the rain, just go higher. It's basically the same as a dry, right? So just go lower for the race, especially the rear tires, as you get the traction on them. Just go lower, and that's basically it. That would be my setup for the rain. You can see at Austria, 11.8 wings, 155, right, left, 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 1.1, 1.2, 2.7, maybe 3.8 here. The brakes 95.50, 95 or 100, it really depends if you are locking up a lot. And the tires, I would go 23.0 on the front and 21.9 at the rears for the race. And for qualifying, I would increase it by 3 clicks, 54.2 and 53.1. So that's basically it. I hope I've explained to you really everything about it, because this is everything I know about how to create a race setup. Obviously, if you don't want to change the rest of the setup, just increase 1 point on the front wing, and it's gonna be probably better, not gonna lose a lot of time on the straights, and 1 click on the front wing or the rear wing is gonna help you a lot. I've seen already a lot of races where people go on the dry setup and then they only increase 1 point on the front wing and 1 point on the rear wing, and it kinda helped them a lot, like 3 or 4 attempts for the lap, So that's basically it. I've explained all I know about it, and I hope you understand. And yeah, make sure to comment below if you have any doubts. So make sure to leave the like below if you like this video also. Let me come back. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. We've just hit 1.3k subscribers, which is a lot of people. And yeah, make sure to share the videos out. It's gonna help me a lot. So see you next video. Bye bye.